completely, give yourself completely to gravity, because gravity is, the force that's holding us in place, so we don't float away or float around. So completely surrender to gravity, and I invite you to close your eyes if you want to. If you don't want to, or you can open and close them. Take a deep breath in through the nostrils. Breathe in deeply. And breathe out deeply. Again, breathe in deeply through both nostrils. Breathe out deeply. Breathe in deeply. Breathe out deeply. One more time, breathe in. And hold the breath in. Inhale a little bit more. And now release the air. Now allow the breath to flow on its own, so you don't have to consciously control it. I am a fountain through which the living waters of life are steadily flowing. There is one mind in continuous creation, and I am a resident in it. It created me in order to act through me, as me, for me. I am a fountain of life, and the living waters of life are flowing through me. What I place in my subconscious mind must appear in my experience. The universe is foolproof. And let me add, some of these are the words of Raymond Charles Barker. I got to say that before. The universe is foolproof. Creation is continuous. The infinite is forever in the process of self-discovery as me. I am pure intelligence, always acting intelligently. The universe is undisturbed by human mistakes and beliefs in limitation. The universe is a success. The universe is never in a hurry. I was born as intelligence in a universe of intelligence to unfold, evolve, and create as intelligence. I am greater than I think. The universe is decisive. The universe is a success. It is unconcerned with my mistakes. This does not mean that the universe does not care about me. The universe is being successful in its expression as me. I am a timeless, spaceless individualization of life. The real me is not only invisible, it is immeasurable. The real me is not only invisible, it is immeasurable. I absolutely believe and know this, and now accept these statements, these truths, these expressions as being completely true. The real me is not only invisible, but it is immeasurable, and it is here to have fun and to express as joyful purpose in its life as me. Sitting for a couple moments of silence in this space, being aware that the breathing is continuing effortlessly, and feeling the body as completely at ease where it is. And I now speak this word of truth for everyone present, everyone who is listening, for all those who are alive in consciousness on this planet and any place else, if there are, wherever anybody is listening. There is one power, one presence, one truth, one love. It is the existence itself. It is the source of existence. It is present as each one, absolutely so. There is no place where it is not. There is no place where it does not operate. It is good. It is expressing as each one in a particular way. And each one is feeling and knowing this. And each one is knowing what they are here for, what their purpose is. Even if it is to discover what their purpose is. This life, this love light is magnificent. It fills and animates the physical body, which is made out of it. It's made out of the substance that is this source. All of this is good. Each one knows what they're doing, and they are experiencing that they are being provided for, which includes by their own efforts, because there is no separation from source. There are points of expression, individual points of expression of this infinite love, light. This light is never absent. Even in what we call the darkness, it is not absent. This love light is good. It is present in this organization, this meeting this morning, this thing called the Center for Spiritual Living Princeton. It is expressing itself through the words of everyone speaking. It is expressing itself magnificently as Susan giving the talk, as the music provided by Reverend Rich. It is joyful. It loves to have a good laugh. It is playful. It is everything good. And so now and by the way, any beliefs to the contrary of the truth that is spoken here are now erased, dissolved, and gone. By the power of this word, they are no longer. They weren't any longer. They are gone. Poof. There is no obstruction to this divine flow. And that can be and is being experienced immediately by anybody at any time. And that is good. This harmonious existence loves itself, and it loves living, and that is true as each one. And I am so glad to speak these words. I'm so glad to have come into contact with this teaching, this liberating teaching of life. I now release this word, knowing that it is already done, it is already given, and that is good. And join me now in saying, and so it is.
So it is.
Oh, yes.
There was a time in my life I thought I had to do it all for myself. Didn't know the grace of God was sufficient. Didn't know the love of God was at hand. But now I can say if you are discouraged, struggling just to make it through another day, you've got to let it all go. You've got to let it all go. And this is what you had to say. I release, I let go. I let the Spirit burn my life. My heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more trouble, no more strife. In my faith, I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release, I let go. I let the Spirit burn my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more trouble, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Yes, I'm only here for God. Yes, I'm only here for God. And now, it is my pleasure to introduce the one and the only licensed practitioner and purveyor of wonderful food and events, Susan.
All right. Thank you very much. How can I compete with that? So 3 people so far have said good morning, so it must be right.
Good morning.
So to those of you that are virtual, hello as well, and we will be participating in a little practice at the end, so it might serve you to have a paper and pencil if you choose to practice that. If you don't need it, it's not required, but I thought I would let you know. And since it is Memorial Day weekend, I thought it would be a nice opportunity for us to just sit for a moment in silence in honor of all those who have served and are now passed, and even in honor of all those in our lives who we have loved who have passed. So let's just take that moment, please, of silence. Thank you. So the talk today is the art of remembering, finding our way back home. And beloved John and I participate in a Wednesday evening mentoring group, during which time we use a lot of poetry. And poetry is a spiritual practice. We were given a wonderful sort of essay about using poetry as a spiritual practice, and there were wonderful, yummy quotes, so I'll be reading a lot of those today. Robert Frost wrote, "Poetry doesn't so much tell us anything new, but reminds us of things that we know, but forgot." And I know those of us in our teaching know that we forget. John Keats wrote, "Poetry should strike the reader as a wording of his own highest thoughts and appear as a remembrance." So we forget and we try to remember our truth. And Jason Mraz, who's one of my favorite songwriters and singers, and I had the pleasure of meeting him when I was working at a fundraiser in Manhattan. He's a sweetheart, and his lyrics are deeply lit with light. They're very light-filled. So he wrote in the song 93,000 Miles, "Every road is a slippery slope. There is always a hand that you can hold on to. Looking deeper through the telescope, you can see that home is inside of you. Just know that wherever you go, you are never alone. You will always get back home." Going home, remembering what we know but forgot. That is a topic that is in a lot of poetry. So as a collective consciousness, it seems that we are all looking for something, to going back to our roots, back to our creation, back to our wholeness, which we are, but we forget. So what is home, and what do we need to remember? Ernest Holmes says, "Life is, and life is conscious of itself. In the beginning, God. God is life, which is everything which is made. So life must flow through all things. Man is not self-made, therefore man is God-made." I use the word God often, but I like it because it's 3 letters and it's 1 syllable. But we do have many words that we use for that, whatever one is comfortable for you: source, spirit, infinite, invisible, the light, creator, whatever. So as we ponder this thought that Ernest Holmes wrote, we sit and we realize the omnipresence of God. God is a lot of wonderful things. God experiences and expresses many wonderful qualities. If we are one with God, God is omnipresent, and we too express those qualities. And yet, we find ourselves in a space sometimes where we forget. We forget that God, or spirit, is home. We forget that home is within us and without us, because if we are omnipresent, it's everything. Seen and unseen is one thing. We are one. But we forget, and we feel that we don't have access to those qualities that are ever present. And when we forget that, sometimes things happen in our world. We get sad, we get angry, we are given situations that we can't seem to move out of that are challenging. What that's really about is we are feeling separate from the one source. I have a note here. Slow down, take a deep breath. Because sometimes I forget. So when we are stepping away from our source, when we are feeling separate, we feel powerlessness, and we want to go back home. So if you think about it on a very simple level, what is home? We all live in a home, and we are individualized expressions of God. So in our home, we have our own decorations, we have our own rituals. And let's just say we're out and about and some car cuts us off, we're at a job and our boss yelled at us, or we couldn't get done what we wanted to get done, and what do we want to do? We want to go home. We want to sit in our kitchen and drink a cup of tea. We want to feel that safety and comfort of home. It's a similar feeling. Joel Goldsmith wrote, "When we feel separated, we are asleep to our basic nature, and we need to be awakened. We need to remember our truth. And what is remembering? Holmes says it is the recognition, the simple recognition of the presence of God within us, our divine essence. So how do we remember? Holmes wrote again, our part is simply to be ready and willing, and thus be guided into truth and liberty. And liberty is that wonderful sense of freedom that we feel when we are in our deep connection with Source. So I mentioned that when we are separate, we feel helpless. We feel none of the qualities that are available to us. And I participate in a wonderful group called Conversations in Christ, where we strive to feel that connection of that Christ consciousness within. And we've been studying Rudolf Steiner for the past month. And he frames this so beautifully. I'm going to share it with you. When men are conscious of the two poles, the powerlessness through the body, which is what we feel when we feel separate, the resurrection through the Spirit, seek and you shall find. For after the experience of powerlessness, the redemption from it is that recognition, that resurrection. Powerlessness to resurrection. Powerlessness is a gift, because it is our invitation to practice, to learn more, to grow, and to get deeper to our source. Redemption is the action, simply the action of being saved from our error. And in our teaching, we talk about errors of false belief, errors of forgetting. But when we remember, and we are in connection with that divine source within, it's interesting how life flows so peacefully and easily, and we can experience those wonderful qualities: joy, lightness, love, peace, and the power of Spirit working through us. So I had the pleasure of reading a book called, oh my, brain freeze, I'm going to look at my notes. 5 Ways to Find Your Way Back to God by Daniel M. 5 ways. They're all interchangeable, but it begins with a quote from the Bible, Jeremiah 29:13. When you forget, you will seek me and find me, when you search for me with all your heart. So back to Daniel. Hopelessness, searching with all your heart. Some of his ideas spoke to me. He explores 5 types of awakening. Awakening to longing. Awakening to regret. Awakening to help. Awakening to love. And awakening to life. And we're going to talk about each one of those. The awakening to longing. Noticing that you are longing for something more. Has anybody here ever felt a longing for something more? That is a call, as Daniel M. mentions. And sometimes we long for things. We long for a better job. We long for a better relationship. What are we really longing for? You know the answer. We're longing for connection to God, to Source. That sense of remembering. We're longing for remembering. Longing is a gift on the pathway back home. It's an invitation. And then he goes into regret. Awakening to regret. Think about it. I bet you everyone here has regretted. And we kind of talk about regret as the idea that that's past. And in our teaching, we can begin each day anew. But when we're open to that feeling of regret, that is a call. That is a call to remember that we can begin life anew. We all have our stories. We wish things went differently. This third is very important, awakening to help. That is simply realizing that you can't do it by yourself and you need to ask for help. In our teaching, we often say, I of my own self can do nothing. It is the Spirit within me that doeth for. Certainly we do work as in union with God as an individualized expression. We are co-doing the work. But sometimes don't we all just push and shove and try to make it happen and it's not working? I do that a lot. And then I have to remember. His fourth awakening is awakening to love. We often say that God and love are synonymous. In fact, I think, John, that's your favorite word when you get up here. John is always reminding us of the love that God is, and that love is everything. We create love out of love. God created us in love. He created out of love. He created with love. We are all love. We experience love. It's all love. So we awaken to the urge for love. We awaken our hearts to loving. And thus that leads us to his fifth awakening, awakening to life. That is the ultimate awakening, awakening to life. In our Wednesday mentoring group, I'm in a group with John. I think I might have said that earlier on. We were just talking about serendipity. Oh, that might have been our Friday night group. So many lovely places, by the way, online that we can also practice the presence. And what is serendipity? Something happens and we think it's chance, but it's just so unique. I'm sure this has happened to all of you. You're thinking of someone and they call you. You're thinking of a song and you turn on the radio, if we have a radio. We're listening to Spotify. And it's the exact song we were thinking of, and it's happened to me where I've turned on the song and it's right where I am, in the song. Whew. Now that is connection. And if you think about that, what did it take for that connection? We're all one. It took many connections. Somebody wrote the song. Some DJ decided to play that song right at that time. It's all one. And that is the magic of life. I had this sense, a very intuitive person said to me once that my dad, who has passed, would come to me as a robin, just to remind me of his love. And I'm going to share this story that for 3 or 4 years in a row, and my husband's in the back, and he will know that I am not telling an untruth. A robin would come and sit on my rearview mirror and to decide to deposit his waste. And then he would fly over to my husband's mirror and deposit his waste. And I was able to watch this many times. And he did it a few times in a row and then he flew away. He didn't fly to anybody else's mirror. We asked our neighbors, did anybody else have like bird residue on their mirror? No. That happened for 3 or 4 years in a row and then it went away. And just recently, a robin was tapping at the window in our foyer. Not one day, but twice, 2 days. And that next day, in our mentoring group, there was a poem written by, I believe, David White, where it says, and when that bird is knocking at your window. And this morning, when I was meditating before giving this speech, a robin landed right at my feet. And we just stared at each other and smiled, and then it flew away. Seriously. That is the magic of life. That is awakening to life, to be attentive, to be observant, to be mindful of everything that is happening in your life. It's all the magic of life. So the question is, how do we stay open? How do we tap into all of these circuits by these wonderful serendipitous moments? How do we make them more? Well, Em had a very interesting idea about awakening. It's all about awakening. So we're going to use some of his work right now, and we're going to do a practice. We're going to participate in a practice, and that is where, for my virtual people, But before we awaken to the practice, I'm going to tell a story. And then John and Gary are going to pass out the papers and the pens. But here is the story. It's called Heaven and Hell by Ram Dass. I'm sure some of you may have heard it already. There was a powerful samurai warrior. Strong, big and tall. And he had a question. So he went to a monk, and used to getting his way all the time, he stood with this powerful voice and he said, "Monk, teach me about heaven and hell." And the quiet, peaceful monk said, with disdain, "I can't teach you anything. You are foul, you are ugly, you are rude, you are awful, you are disgusting. I can't teach you anything." And the samurai warrior was incensed, furious. His face turned red. He was shaking everywhere. He was in pure rage, and he lifted up his sword, and he was going to bring it down on the monk, and the monk calmly said to him, "That is hell." And the samurai warrior stopped. And he was overwhelmed. He thought to himself, this man was willing to give up his life to teach me. And he was all of a sudden filled with gratitude and love. And he felt this wonderful sense of peace overtake him. And the monk said, "That is heaven." And I told you that song because it's very much the 5 awakenings that Daniel M. talked about. Samurai felt a longing. He had a question. He asked for help. He was about to kill this man, and in a moment of regret, he recognized the love that this man had. And he was able to settle into life. So we're going to do that right now. Our life is so fluid. I'm sure you've all experienced all aspects of those awakenings. So while John hands out that paper and Gary hands out the pens, I invite you to think about your life and the samurai story. And think where in your life you awaken, or what you want to awaken more to. You know, some people have trouble awakening to asking for help. So that might be an awakening, or an awakening to regret, where you want to release the past, you want to release what doesn't serve you, and move on into redemption. So we're going to practice in something called Lectio Divina, which I believe is a Catholic practice, but I have morphed it. I use it often with our philosophy, and it is simply about reading something, contemplating it, and then listening for divine guidance. So the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is to pick one of the awakenings as listed by Daniel. They're slightly reframed, but I'm going to read them for the virtual audience. Awakening to longing. I want to be awakened to feeling my divine union. I long to be home. Awakening to regret. I know that I burden myself with past ideas. I want to start anew. Awakening to help. I realize that of my own self I can do nothing. I am open to receiving direction. Awakening to love. I am open to recognizing the love that already is, divine love. Awakening to life. I know we are all one. I know life is one giant, beautiful connection. I am open to noticing and receiving the miracles of life. So simply pick one that speaks to you right now. Typically, we would read them aloud when we do this process. For today, because we're all together, I invite you to read it to yourselves, and I guide you. In the virtual audience, if you're alone, certainly you can say the awakening out loud. I awaken to longing. I awaken to regret. I awaken to help. I awaken to love. I awaken to life. So right now, as you have decided upon which awakening you want to explore, just understand that we are guided. And this process is God-given. And anything that comes forth to you is the perfect thing for you to know and hear today. So first of all, I invite you to read which awakening you have chosen. And read it a few times to yourself silently. Any other words come in to your head? Let them go and just keep reading it silently. And I want you to notice, does something stand out to you in those few words? A word, an idea? Did something pop into your head? Maybe even a meaning. What does it mean to you? What spoke to you in any way at all? Just be aware of those words that are floating about. And now I invite you to close your eyes. And with your eyes closed, taking a few nice, slow, deep breaths, I invite you to ponder for a moment what spoke to you. Just for a moment, see what comes. And then be open to listening to Spirit. Speak to me, O Divine, for I can hear you now. I am listening. I invite you to be in a listening state and be open as you sit in the silence to whatever thoughts come your way based on what was attracted to you about those words. And slowly bring yourself into awareness of your space and simply write down anything that came to you. A word, a thought, an idea, anything. And if nothing came to you, that means nothing was meant to come to you. No judgment, no doubt. As you write them down, express gratitude for the opportunity simply to ponder and to listen. And know that whatever you thought of, you are always guided, you are always guarded, you are always safe, you are always protected. So now the process is complete. Just bring yourself back to this space. And if you wanted to continue this process because there wasn't enough time for you to go into this, feel free to consider doing it at home, using any one of the awakenings on the paper. Holmes said, we can sit in the shade or move into the sunshine. Sitting in the shadow, we may not really believe that there is any sunshine. But the sun would be there all the time, and all the time we are in bondage. The real freedom exists. Helplessness, freedom. Practicing the presence of God, of love, of Spirit, of the divine. We have so many methods of doing that. That is your key. when you awaken to the longings, you feel that urge for connection, you remember that you are separate, and you do the practice of listening to get back into the space of remembering. Franz Kafka said, "You do not need to leave your room. Simply remain sitting at your table or in your chair or wherever you are and listen. Be quiet, still, and solitary. The world will freely offer itself to you. It has no choice. It will roll ecstasy at your feet. And if you need help, like the samurai, you find a practitioner. You come to the services. And you sit and listen." We're going to end with a small meditation, so close your eyes. And I'm going to speak these in the first person, that you can take them as your own. I enter into the harmony of eternal peace, into the art and joy of knowing that I am now in the kingdom of God, from which no person is excluded. My yesterday is gone forever. My tomorrow stretches for an infinite future of pure delight. And from out of the invisible sphere come to me these words: when I forget, I can always come back home. When I forget, I can always come back home. So take one more nice deep breath, and when you are ready, bring yourself back into this space. Thank you so much for being with us today. And now I invite beloved Jeffrey up for our law of circulation practice.
Every organization, everything needs support. All lakes have to have a supply and they have an outlet. The ocean refuses no rivers. The universe is there. This world is circulation. And as we, in our lives, allow circulation to occur, and this includes financial circulation, monetary, as well as the expression of our gifts and so many things more, things work better. And this can be tested in various ways, individually. So this organization has bills to pay, and so on and so forth. So everybody is in the live audience and in the
virtual.
The virtual audience is invited to contribute, and I'll say and if you go to if you're virtual, you can go to csl.org.
CSLPrinceton.org.
CSLPrinceton.org. CSLPrinceton.org. You can go there and make a contribution. And if you're live here, you can do whatever you do. But whatever you do, when you have the plate, you can have. My mind is silly sometimes. The plate, hold it. You can put your hand over it or hold it, and I invite you to hold it as a symbol of. It's a symbol of something. See it as a portal, so to speak. See it as a symbol for a place where you are giving forth and it is being given out. So I invite you to do that. So
We were born before the wind, also younger than the sun. And the bonnie boat was one. We sailed into the mist. Hark now, hear the sailors cry. Smell the sea and feel the sky. Let your soul and spirit fly into the mist. When that foghorn blows, I'll be coming home. When that foghorn blows, I want to hear it. Don't have to fear it. And I want to rock your gypsy soul. Just like way back in the days of old. Magnificent we will float into the mist. When that foghorn blows, you know I'll be coming home. When that foghorn whistle blows, I gotta hear it. Don't have to fear it. And I wanna rock your gypsy soul. Just like way back in the days of old. Together we can float into the
In gratitude for your generosity and your being here, and gypsy soul. When you think about it, when we wander away from home, we can ultimately step back into the mist, our connection to God. So let us get quiet again as I do the closing treatment, finding that space within. As we breathe in union, we know that that is the breath of life. And we're all sharing that same one breath of life. It is a constant flow of circulation of love and life. And as we breathe and sit here in recognition of that one source, I can speak these words for everyone here and everyone in the world and beyond, knowing that this one life is ever present, ever expressing itself in all of its power and glory, as each one here, in the most loving, beautiful, magical way. And each one is lifted to that place of the highest height of remembering truth. Feeling that power within, that light within, knowing that each one is ever guided, ever directed, ever knowing what is best, because good is always present and best is always best. Life is a beautiful, loving place of experience because it's all God experience. And if sometimes we forget, we have a wonderful path to remembering. It's It's ever available, ever present. Each one is always home and has the opportunity to remember that at all times. The art of remembering that wonderful presence within, that light that guides, that light that shines, that light of clarity, that wonderful divine right action, that flow of good. Is it serendipity? It is life itself, God in expression. So with love and gratitude, knowing this is truth, I release these words to the loving law, and so it is.
When that foghorn blows, you know I'll be coming home. When that foghorn blows, I've gotta hear it, don't have to fear it, and I wanna rock your gypsy soul. Just like back in the days of old.